Welcome to another video from explainingthefuture.com. This time I'm going to talk about the future of payment systems. Today, when we want to buy something, we have to hand over some cash or a cheque, or maybe swipe a card or a phone. And yet, in the future, we might not have to present anything at all, with payment depending entirely on the verification of our identity. Thousands of years ago, barter was used to exchange surplus items, with the practice first recorded in ancient Egypt. Also on the banks of the Nile, the first coins were used around 500 BC. The Chinese next invented paper money in the 7th century. The first personal cheque was then written in 1659, with the first payment card introduced in 1946. More recently, we've seen smartphone and near-field communication payment systems. But even these depend on the possession and presentation of a physical device or token. Within a couple of decades, 3D printing and other digital fabrication technologies will do for physical manufacturing what computers and the internet have already done for the creation and duplication of information. In turn, this will make all token-based payment systems less secure, as almost any physical item will be able to be forged. Future payment systems will therefore have to rely far less on tokens of exchange, in favour of the identification of each person as a unique human wallet. In practice, this means that monetary exchange will in the future have to rely on macrobiometrics, cybernetic tokens, microbiometrics, and compound digital footprints. Already, there are many technologies that can identify an individual and potentially verify a monetary payment. Most common are fingerprint readers, with Swipe having already integrated a fingerprint sensor into a payment card. Finger vein and palm vein readers can alternatively distinguish unique internal vein patterns, while retinal and iris recognition are now highly advanced. Taking an alternative approach, NIME have developed an ECG wristband that transmits a verification ID based on the wearer's unique heart signature. Face recognition payment systems are also in development, with the first trials announced by Unical in Finland in 2013. In theory, this will allow items to be paid for simply by staring at a single camera. Though, for the highest levels of security, future facial payment systems are likely to rely on multiple camera networks. Using our fingerprints or faces as a potential future payment system may sound amazing. And yet, 20 years from now, 3D bioprinters may be able to reprint our fingerprints and even faces. This would make fingerprints and faces untrustworthy biometrics, so requiring other solutions to be found. One possibility could be implanting RFID chips inside the human body. This has in fact already been tried as a payment method, with a VeriChip human RFID implant introduced in 2004. Perhaps not surprisingly, the VeriChip raised health and privacy concerns and was discontinued in 2010. Implanting a chip to turn it into a human wallet is also unnecessary, as we already all possess a unique digital code. The most accurate way to identify an individual is to sequence their DNA. In 2001, it cost about $100 million to read a human genome. Yet by January 2014, Illumina's HiSeq X10 sequencing system had reduced this to $1,000. At the present rate of progress, sometime before 2030, it may be possible to sequence a human genome for a fraction of a cent and in less than a minute. This would allow payments to be verified by licking your finger and touching it to a sensor. This said, those making DNA payments would have to be carefully monitored to ensure that they always paid using a sample of their own body fluids. Back in the 18th century, philosopher Jeremy Bentham came up with the idea of panoptic structures. Such prisons and other buildings were designed to allow their residents to be constantly observed. Bentham's ideas were first put into effect in Russia in 1787, when a polygon-shaped factory was built around a central watchtower. Mirrors were also positioned to provide additional lines of sight, so allowing those at the top of the tower to continually observe workers. With the rise of the internet and big data, today the entire developed world is rapidly becoming a panoptic structure. Increasingly, CCTV cameras will recognise who we are, while our smartphones will report our location, and every click and keystroke we make will be digitally recorded. The idea that we're becoming subject to constant digital monitoring may be a frightening prospect. But it could also allow the development of panoptic money. After all, if the global network always knows where we are, we should never need to prove our identity. In the future, both online and offline stores may therefore allow or prevent us from making purchases based solely on a knowledge of our compound digital footprint. Today, picking up some shopping and not having to present any kind of payment may sound either impossible or illegal. And yet, 100 years ago, buying things by swiping a card or swiping a phone would have sounded just as ridiculous. More information on a wide range of future topics can be found on explainingthefuture.com. But now that's it for another video, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.